Hello everyone, Weather Jamaica here. Welcome to this updated video on the weather across Jamaica and the Caribbean. It is Wednesday evening, April 5, 2023. Now before we jump into it, please ensure that you guys like the video, share it, subscribe and tap notification bell so that you'll be notified every time I post a brand new video. Feel free to leave a comment down in the comment section letting me know what there's been like in your area recently. Also feel free to ask any other related question that you might have about the future of the weather in your specific area. I respond to all comments and I really live for this stuff. Alright, so taking a look at the surface map of the Atlantic for this evening, we can see that we have a high pressure ridge sending a lot of easterly trade winds across the main development region into the Caribbean, and we can also see that we have three troughs right there across the central Atlantic, and we can also see another trough right there affecting portions of the northeastern Caribbean. Taking a look at the visible satellite images before the sun went down, we can see the clouds associated with those two troughs to the north of the eastern Caribbean, not to mention the clouds associated with that trough affecting portions of the eastern Caribbean, bringing some amount of overcast skies, showers and thunderstorms to those areas. We can also see those low-level patches of clouds moving from east to west across the main development region into the Caribbean, associated with that easterly trade wind that's brought about by that high pressure ridge. We'll be talking more about the weather across the Caribbean later on. Let's focus our attention on the prediction that was made for Jamaica's weather for Wednesday in yesterday's post. It was stated that we would have received some amount of afternoon rainfall across portions of central and western Jamaica. But what ended up happening? In the morning hours, we got some rainfall across portions of northern and eastern Jamaica. Then in the afternoon hours, we had a buildup of clouds across portions of some southern and central parishes. The portions of Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland got on some amount of overcast skies and isolated showers. And if we take a look at the Caribbean Institute for Meteorology and Hydrology website, we actually have confirmation of where we have the rainfall for today. So just as stated, northeastern Jamaica, eastern Jamaica, portions of Clarendon, Manchester, St. Elizabeth and Westmoreland got on some amount of rainfall today. Taking a look at the temperatures for tonight, we can see that we have 25 degrees Celsius in Montego Bay, 26 degrees Celsius in Kingston, and as the night progresses, these temperatures should be getting lower. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow by both the Euro and the GFS, both maps are showing 1 p.m. on Thursday, and we can see that Jamaica is embedded in some slight blues that are indicative of about 1 degree Celsius below average temperatures. And what are the average temperatures for the month of April? About 88 degrees Fahrenheit. And if we actually look at the thermometer, 88 degrees Fahrenheit is about the equivalent of about 31 degrees Celsius. And considering that we'll be receiving at least 1 degree Celsius below average temperatures as according to the forecast, we should be receiving anywhere from, let's say, 29 to 30 degrees Celsius for Jamaica for tomorrow. Taking a look at the dry air map, we can still see that Jamaica is embedded in some amount of oranges and yellows associated with that dry air. We can also see the contrasting difference across portions of northeastern Caribbean that are being affected by that trough at this time. So it makes sense that that spot is more yellow and blue with all that moist air brought about by the rainfall and clouds, all courtesy of that trough. Taking a look at the Saharan dust forecast, 2 p.m. on Thursday seems to be in the clear for Jamaica. Majority of the dust seems to be across portions of the eastern and southern Caribbean as well as the main development region. Taking a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see that for the south coast of Jamaica we should be getting at least 1.5 meter wave heights or less. However, the north coast we can see some purples on both maps. The purples are indicative of about 2 meter wave heights. And why is that? Taking a look at the wind forecast, we can see that on both the Euro and the GFS at 12 p.m. on Thursday, we have a lot of yellows to the north of the island, and the yellows indicate up to 25 to 30 knot winds. So we should be receiving some amount of strong winds coming in from the east northeast for tomorrow across the north coast. So that explains why the wave height would be so high on that side of the island. Taking a look at the wind shear map as well, we can see that the wind shear will be coming more from the northwest. So if there's a chance of some amount of afternoon convection wherever we have the least amount of winds tomorrow, which should be the southern areas right there, maybe Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth is what we see there. That's where we have the darkest shades of blue. That's where we have the least amount of wind. That's usually where we have the air piling up and the clouds building up to form some amount of cumulonimbus clouds or afternoon convection. And if we should have that, the wind shear should be pushing all of that off to the southeast, bringing more overcast skies and rainfall to some southern parishes. That's if that actually unfolds in the afternoon. Taking a look at the precipitation forecast, as early as 10 p.m. tonight, we can see some blues that represent rainfall right there off the northeast. So St. Mary, Portland, maybe even sections of St. Thomas getting in on some of that. Another one we have consensus or agreement on both models. The chances of it actually happening are much higher. Skipping ahead to about 4 a.m. Jamaica time, we'll still see some blues across sections of northern Jamaica. So portions of maybe Trelawney, St. Anne, St. Mary, Portland might be getting in on some of that rainfall. Spilling into St. Thomas as well. Skipping ahead to about 7 a.m., much of the same thing happening, especially in northeastern parishes. So Portland should be getting in on a lot of rainfall right there. Skipping ahead to about 3 p.m. on Thursday now, we see the consensus right there. The very areas that we saw on the wind forecast to be receiving less winds. Right there across portions of Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth, that's where we see the blues that represent rainfall. So 3 p.m. on Thursday, that's where we're going to be having consensus for some amount of afternoon convection taking place. Taking a look at the accumulated precipitation forecast, it makes sense that both maps have the most accumulated precipitation, keeping in mind that accumulated precipitation is all the rainfall spread out over, let's say, a good 24 hours. And this map is showing all the rainfall that's expected from now up until 10 p.m. on Thursday. So it makes sense that we see consensus across portions of eastern Jamaica, especially northeastern Jamaica on the GFS, which makes more sense. So definitely persons who live on the northeastern side of the island or the eastern side of the island should be getting themselves ready for the rainfall starting tonight into tomorrow morning. And we are indeed grateful for the rainfall that we've been getting or we're going to receive, considering that we're in the last month of the dry season. We shall receive up to 114 millimeters of rainfall this month, and as usual May comes thereafter, which is our secondary rainy season with up to 213 millimeters of rainfall. So hopefully we don't extend with all of this drought. Let's hope we get some amount of drought busting rainfall that won't do much damage. Alright, so that's it for the forecast across Jamaica. Let's focus our attention on the rest of the Caribbean. So as stated, we have a lot of clouds right there across portions of the northeastern Caribbean associated with a trough. We can also see that we have some clouds associated with a cold front across portions of the eastern half of the United States, so the southern and eastern United States. We can also see some amount of clouds right there across portions of Colombia, as usual, portions of Panama. If we take a look at the Doppler radar images, we can see that yes, we indeed have a lot of rainfall taking place from about 1:30 p.m. today across portions of the northeastern Caribbean, including sections of Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the US and British Virgin Islands, portions of St. Martin, Anguilla, St. Barts, Barbuda, Antigua, and portions of St. Kitts and Nevis might have gotten in some amount of rainfall today as well. And we know that the greens represent moderate rainfall, and the yellows within those greens represent some amount of heavy rainfall. Taking a look at the Barbados radar, even Barbados getting in on some amount of passing shower or two, even areas to the north and west of there getting in on some amount of rainfall, such as St. Vincent, portions of St. Lucia getting in on some of that rainfall, maybe even section of Grenada might have gotten in on some of that rainfall as well. Taking a look at the wider view of Doppler radar images, we can see that majority of the rainfall is right there across portions of eastern Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, and those islands that were just mentioned. And we can also see that rainfall right there across portions of Colombia, just as stated earlier. Taking a look at the temperature forecast for tomorrow, we can see that for the most part, the eastern to central Caribbean, even making its way into portions of the southwestern Caribbean, will be getting on some below average temperatures for tomorrow. The above normal temperatures seem to be anywhere from Cuba and westward, so portions of Honduras, Belize, Guatemala, Mexico, the Gulf of Mexico itself, and sections of the southern and eastern United States will be getting on some amount of above normal temperatures for tomorrow. Even sections of, let's say, Venezuela, portions of southern and central Guyana and Suriname will be getting on some slight above normal temperatures for tomorrow. Taking a look at the Saharan dust forecast, we can see that although we'll be having some amount of rainfall across portions of northeastern Caribbean tomorrow, we still have some amount of dry air to receive, all courtesy of the Sahara Desert. We see some browns anywhere from, let's say, Guadeloupe southward, should be receiving some amount of Saharan dust, so some slight hazy skies by 2 p.m. on Thursday to affect sections of Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, Barbados, St. Vincent, sections of, let's say, Barbados. We can see some right there across portions of Trinidad and Tobago, portions of the ABC Islands, Venezuela, Guyana, Suriname, and French Guyana as well. If we take a look at the wave forecast for tomorrow, we can see that the purples are right there to the south and north of Jamaica that indicate 2-meter wave heights or more, not to mention to the waters to the far north and east of the Caribbean. And why is that? We see that we have the strongest waves, or not the strongest waves, the strongest winds, as indicated by all of those yellows right there across portions of Jamaica, northern Jamaica, coming in through the Windward Passage, portions of the Central Caribbean, so to the south of Haiti, to the north of Colombia as usual. And we have consensus on both maps. I know that when we have consensus like this, chances of it actually happening are much higher. But let's talk rainfall, especially considering that those spots right there across the northeastern Caribbean are receiving rainfall right now. They're still to receive even more rainfall come tomorrow. This map is showing up to 10 p.m. on Thursday, and we can see that they are to receive an inch or two of rainfall as seen by the Euro model. Taking a look at the JFS model, JFS is a bit more robust, even showing some purples in there that indicate up to 3 inches of rainfall across those various spots that are getting rainfall right now. I know that when we have consensus like this, the chance of it actually happening are much higher. Taking a look at the southern portion of the basin, we can see even up to an inch of rainfall being predicted for portion of northwestern Venezuela, Colombia, portion of Panama, and Costa Rica as usual. Taking a look at the western portion of the basin, we mentioned that cold front across portion of the southern United States, it should be bringing more rainfall across portion of Texas and Mexico for tomorrow, and we see consensus on both maps. We don't see much in the way of rainfall across portion of the Yucatan Peninsula, Guatemala, or Belize or Honduras. I know that when we have consensus like this, the chances of it actually happening are much higher. Alright, so that's it for today. Thanks for watching.